Afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to be covering the impact of artificial intelligence on education and training. My name's Jack Lee. I'm the president of KMSI, and today's event has been something that we've been working on for quite a while in terms of not only learning how the AI technologies can benefit the education and training community, but also, some of the issues that people have been running into or fears that they've been running into as AI gets discussed both in the media and in the news. With me today, I have AJ Evanish.
Hello, hello.
AJ will be taking part of the presentation today. AJ's a senior manager at KMSI and handles a lot of our really large clients. So thanks for taking time today to join us, AJ, and to help me out with this presentation. So let's go ahead and get rolling here. A little administrivia just before we get too far, though. This is KMX Live. You can talk to us in private by clicking on our names. I'm Jack Lee or AJ Evanish, and sort of private chat with us. I do have the roster hidden for privacy purposes. And after the event, there'll be a e-learning version of this event generated by the system that you'll all receive a link to. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat room, and we will do our best to answer you as we go. So with that, let's get started. As far as where AI fits into our sphere, our area, the area of training and education that I assume most of us, if not all of us, operate in. It's just inevitable. I'm old enough to remember when satellite-based distance learning was thought of as something to be afraid of. That it would be something that really ruined the education and training that organizations were conducting. The same thing happened again when computer-assisted and DVD training. The Sony View stations came out where they would take DVD video segments and use a computer assisted interface to get students to go through different video segments and on and on. Same thing happened with e-learning, computer-based training, even internet virtual classrooms. In fact, a lot of people still have real reservations about using technologies like we're using today to conduct training, all the way up through hybrid learning technologies that are addressing multi-mode delivery of training within universities and technical schools and even corporations. So just to be said, change is inevitable, and it's amazing. We've all adapted. We've all gotten to the point where we can come into a internet virtual classroom. We can participate with others. We can learn globally. Systems like the one we're using today can actually translate any of the written words on the screen. You can select a language for those of you who are more familiar with a different language than what we're using for the screen prompts. Unfortunately, I only can speak one language. Well, I took French, but we won't talk about that. Scores weren't that great. So let's talk about some of the fears that people have. One that I hear all the time is that it's going to replace the instructors and professors. The same thing can be said, was said about e-learning when e-learning came out, as everybody thought, oh, well, it'll all be e-learning, there won't be any human interaction, and we won't need instructors and professors anymore. I think we can all put that one aside because it's really not going to happen. You can't replace the human element in learning and education. It's kind of an impossible to do. As good as AI is today, it's decades away from being able to even come close to what could be done by a human interacting with a student. And there's a lot of reasons for that that we'll get to as we go on today. Another one that we hear in the news, especially with some of these lawsuits going on, is that AI is stealing intellectual property. AI works a lot like Google, and Google AI obviously is Google, but AI uses scrapers in order to gather information, and those scrapers look for intellectual property, stamps on the material, and if it finds the intellectual property stamp, it tries to respect it. Now that goes for OpenAI and for the Google AI. There may be other AI providers out there that aren't trying to follow those kind of ethical guidelines. But as of today, the two major providers, Google and OpenAI, are doing their best not to do that. We're going to talk about some of this again as we go on. AI is not going to make developers obsolete. We'll develop an e-learning course today with a topic that was voted on by participants before today's event started. And you'll see that there's limits to what AI can do. AI can do a very good job developing, courseware, but it's never going to replace the subject matter expert. It's certainly never going to replace the expertise of an experienced instructional designer or graphic artist or video developer in providing those media materials that are absolutely necessary to ensure comprehension. One of the concerns we hear out there a lot is the injection of biased information, into this. And again, AJ is going to talk a little bit about this and some of the areas where these things are really unfounded. And also, it's been said that it will inhibit critical thinking because AI, will basically dumb things down so much to the point, in education and training, especially to where, the students, the learners, are going to be, like trained rabbits or trained mice in a cage. I think, again, AJ will address some of that as we go forward. The last one that, we need to address, though, is this enabling of student cheaters, which has been an issue where a lot of, especially in universities, my sister's a professor at University of Pennsylvania, and, she's certainly seen a lot of students submit papers that were generated by ChatGPT. But they're pretty easy to find, and even OpenAI and ChatGPT have come out with tools to help professors and instructors and facilitators find where students have done that, where plagiarism has been an issue. And again, we'll let AJ talk a little bit about those issues. So, in reality, artificial intelligence isn't the scary beast that I just showed you, and I'm going to let AJ take it from here. For the next several slides to talk about how AI can be a friendly helper, vice the Terminator that I showed on the previous screen. AJ.
All right, thanks, Jack. Yeah, so Jack just covered the most common fears of AI adoption in the education and training space. And admittedly, I've shared a lot of the same concerns as I'm sure, Jack had originally as well. But now that we've started to get our feet wet, with the technology, and we begin kind of wading into the artificial intelligence pool, a little bit deeper, we started to realize that artificial intelligence doesn't have to replace instructors or professors, rather it can augment them. Intellectual property can actually be protected, which again, I'll talk a little bit more about that. Developers can become even more productive, and you can actually filter out biased information, all while enhancing your critical thinking. And then those same students who may try to leverage AI to cheat, well, you can actually be caught using AI. Presenter from you. Sorry, Jack, forgot to do that. So let's talk about how AI can augment instructors and professors. Really, it can do so by providing some personalized teaching and feedback. It can also automate grading and administrative tasks. You can develop virtual learning environments, all while providing automated support to your students. AI can provide students with real-time feedback and support, additionally, while analyzing data to identify learning trends and then create personalized learning plans. It could also help instructors to create more engaging content by providing more accurate assessment and helping to improve student outcomes. It also helps with information and research and obviously quick fact checking. And we'll cover it shortly, but AI can also help catch those cheating students that we talked about here a little bit ago. Now, how can AI protect intellectual property? It can do so in a few ways. AI can detect plagiarism and also detect online piracy. It can also help protect intellectual property by using some technologies like machine learning and natural language processing to detect and identify unauthorized use of copyrighted materials. AI-powered tools can also help identify and track online sources of intellectual property infringement, which would allow companies to take some steps necessary to protect their intellectual property. And then additionally, it can help automate the process of searching for and monitoring potential intellectual property infringement. Before I transition, Jack, do you have any more additional comments about protection of intellectual property that you want to throw in there?
Well, with the lawsuits that are, out there, especially against, OpenAI and Microsoft, this has become a real priority for them, especially to introduce these tools as quickly as possible so people can see that they're taking steps and, creating technologies that allow those with those kinds of concerns to, to do the exact things that you just mentioned. And one of them is, not only the identification, but the verification of demand removals, because AI has to be able to remove that which it has captured, which is either proprietary and not authorized for use. And AI also has to have the ability to provide a source, anytime, there's a challenge to an AI response. So these are the kind of things that Microsoft and Google have both, decided that they better take seriously, or they're going to see more of these lawsuits.
Absolutely. We actually had a couple questions come through in the chat room too, specifically about protection of intellectual property and the identification of plagiarism. Jack, if you have any additional comments that you want to add to that. I know it's using algorithms like the natural language processing to analyze, obviously, similarities in text submissions. So that the analyzation obviously is the tool used to identify common trends, sentence structure, all those different elements. And it's pretty easy to identify individuals that are just, copying and pasting straight out of Chat GPT. But Jack, how can that be used
would be an example of that Microsoft and OpenAI have come out with to, it's in beta right now, but it's available for testing by professors and educators to test to make sure that a paper submitted by a student or a paper submitted for peer review, if it's a scientific or a research, paper, can be cross-checked to make sure that any citations that have been made are accurate, or if they're missing, that they get made. Because a lot of times what we'll see, in papers is, people will use other people's work, but they will, cite that use, in their paper so that they can get proper credit. Now, in a student paper or some type of essay assignment or something like that, the OpenAI tool that they're producing will allow the educator to assess from a score. It'll end up coming back with a score as to what the probability is associated with AI being used in the generation of that material, and how much of the source material was verbatim with source materials that could be found by the AI engines. So these are tools that while they're not mature by any stretch of the imagination, are becoming available quickly and will improve, I'm sure, over time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jack. So AI can make developers far more productive in a variety of ways, such as generating task inventories and providing a validation of even their task analysis. AI can also generate learning objectives by analyzing the content of given learning material, so learning material that it's fed, and then generating some objectives that are tailored specific to that material that it received. It could also then identify gaps in the learning material and then generate some objectives that are designed to bridge those gaps. Another good use of that would be storyboards, right? So storyboards can be generated by AI, again, using that natural language processing and machine learning algorithms. So it could take a script or an outline of a story, and then from that generate visuals, dialogue, and other elements necessary to create that storyboard. This exact same process could apply to e-learning content development and development of interactive elements. So imagine AI creating a personalized learning experience or providing adaptive learning pathways, or even a virtual tutor, for example. Now, bias is obviously inevitably part of human nature, right? We all have our own preferences, likes, dislikes, and points of view. So it's no surprise that those same preferences or those biases, seep into our data. Well, that bias information can be filtered by AI, again, using those same algorithms, which will identify and detect patterns in text. Now, these algorithms can be trained to recognize language that is biased and then, or inaccurate, and then flag it for additional review. All those tools would obviously help educators and trainers identify and address any potential biases in their materials. Jack, do you have any other comments about how filtering out bias information is an option with AI?
No, not really. I think, when we look at bias, it's one of those beauties in the eye of the beholder, issues. And what some people would consider bias, other people would consider, a point of view. But, when you tune algorithms to be able to make it so that anything you're producing publicly, removes those biases, I think we're all going to, be happier, with the outcome of these kind of AI, products and the AI, work product that comes out.
Perfect. Thanks, Jack. Moving on to an additional point here about enhancing critical thinking. So Jack kind of pointed out, we're worried about individuals just leveraging AI and becoming like trained rabbits. But really, AI can be leveraged to enhance critical thinking. Again, using those tools, students can receive real-time feedback on their work so that they can quickly and easily identify areas for improvement while focusing on their areas of strength. AI provides more data and information to consider when making decisions as well. So that can help identify patterns and correlations that may not be apparent when using some traditional methods. This can be leveraged to create more personalized learning paths, which results in better comprehension of the subject material. And it can also be used to create more engaging learning elements, like virtual experiences, like I mentioned. So imagine combining AI and virtual reality to offer a simulation-based training or employee / customer role play experiences would be an excellent use case of that. And then the last little topic here before I pass it over to Jack to get into kind of some real hands-on demonstrations here is how to catch student cheaters. So again, to preface this, I saw this kind of in the chat room, is you're right, we're not there yet, but these are tools that are in development, where we see AI improving upon. So agree that these aren't problems that are currently solved, but I think it's the direction that AI is heading. So the assumption is that students are going to leverage AI to cheat, which admittedly, yeah, probably many of them have, right? Having them write papers via ChatGPT and submitting that. But that same AI could be used to also easily identify and catch those student cheaters. So papers could be submitted and plagiarism could be detected by comparing the student's work not only to all of the online resources, but even against the other submissions from other students in their same class. AI could also be used to analyze patterns in test scores, such as like sudden jumps in grades or even the same answers being given by multiple students. It could even monitor student interactions in online discussion forums to detect signs of collaboration or if they're sharing answers or even use of unauthorized resources. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Jack. I know that was very quick, but today's focus was really to get a lot of hands-on time as well. So Jack, if you have any additions to those, fantastic. Otherwise, I'll pass it to you for our hands-on portion of the demo.
Thank you, AJ.
Yeah.
On this online cheaters thing, one of the first things I noted was that it was very difficult to go through analysis of a long exam, 50 plus question exam, and identify, where, individuals may have been using a cheat sheet or a scoring sheet, manually. And unless they're really, really smart, it's very hard to hide that kind of behavior, from, an AI process where it can look at, tens or hundreds or thousands of student submissions and know which questions, are going to take longer to answer and which ones are going to be shorter. And when you start to detect a pattern of response within those questions of an individual who, just doesn't follow the pattern of the rest of the students, you have to start to wonder whether or not some, unauthorized, cheat sheets or tools were used. Those are things that I think are in our future very soon. Let's do a couple of hands-on demonstrations here. The first of which I'd like to get to, and we're going to do quite a few, is just to kind of introduce you to a simple dialogue interface. Now, I would imagine most of you have gone out and at least looked at what others are doing and using things like ChatGPT 4 or Google AI 4. What we wanted to do here was create a simple user dialogue interface that could attach to any of the AI engines and allow the user to ask a question. Now, the interface that I'll be pushing here in a second requires you to type in a question and ask Chat KMX by pressing that button to receive an answer. It also has the ability to listen to your voice, which I've disabled for this first part. And it has the ability to mute the response because all of you are going to get a verbal response out of the system as you're interfacing with this dialogue. One of the things that we also wanted to make sure we did was capture that data. And so what we're actually passing to you is a SCORM element that has been created as a chat interface that is recording the responses to the student record so that you have a transcript of what actually occurred. So you could use this, with an e-learning course player or in a virtual classroom interface. I could drop that in replace of the chat room here today, and you could ask, AI, questions about the subject. The key is to be able to train AI, before the first question is asked as to what the boundaries of the response are going to be, and where you're going to draw some lines on people, going, outside of the box or, going, into areas that aren't intended to be covered. So you're going to see that as we pass this new, this simple dialogue box along to you here in a second. And again, you'll be able to use that. So let's have a little fun with this. Try asking the interface something unrelated to our topic, but not too crazy. I think you'll be impressed with how AI responds to questions that are on topic. For those of you new to using KMX Live, the display window will be replaced by the interactive content I push. A toggle display button will be available for you to toggle between the push content and the KMX Live display interface. Okay, so I can go ahead and keep talking here, but you can go ahead and start asking questions about the subject, the impact of AI on education.
The best feature of AI for education is its ability to personalize learning experiences.
Will respond to you.
AI can analyze student data and adapt content and teaching methods to the individual student's needs and preferences, providing a more effective and engaging learning experience.
You should have a toggle display button on your screen.
AI can help with exam scoring.
See if you go
AI can be used to grade multiple choice tests, provide feedback to students on their answers, and even provide personalized tutoring. AI can also be used to detect cheating on exams and provide personalized feedback to students on how they can improve their performance.
Okay, so as each of you guys are playing around with this,
AI will not replace instructors.
I have access to your transcript.
AI can be used to supplement instruction and training, but it cannot replace the human interaction and guidance that an instructor provides.
Moderator, instructor, can refer to that transcript. So if I want to use a technology like this in a session where I have breakout groups and I want to see what different groups come up with leveraging AI in the process, then they should have the ability to do that. I'm not really sure what the problem Nada is having there, AJ. Is anybody else missing the toggle display button on their screen?
This depends on the specific session you are referring to.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what problem they're running into, AJ. Why don't you deal with that in the private chat?
No, this question is not directly related to the subject of the impact of artificial intelligence, AI, on education and training.
Okay, looks like Nada found the button. There's a lot of first-time users of KMX Live here, obviously. Not used to seeing an interactive interface like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move on from this simple dialogue interface.
The St. Louis Cardinals won the 2011 World Series.
I'm going to reset that. Go back to the slides. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is a learner role play interface. We're going to be using that same interface that you just learned how to use. But in this next session, you're going to be in a role play with the AI, and the AI in this instance has been given instructions about who it is and what its role is. It's going to be the salesperson, and you're going to be the buyer at a car dealership. And again, this is just a simple example so that you can kind of get an idea of where you might be able to plug things like learner role play into your e-learning courses or into your live presentations or into group breakout sessions and things like that. So let me go ahead and let's do a role play interaction. It'll stop eventually, Dr. Dave.
Hi there, I'm Brett, your car salesperson. I'm here to tell you all about the 2019 BMW i9. This vehicle is an amazing car that comes with a price tag of $77,343 and is not negotiable. It has 36,000 miles on it, and the interest rate on a 60-month loan for the vehicle is 6%. So what questions do you have about the 2019 BMW i9? The 2019 BMW i9 has a top speed of 155 miles per hour.
Okay, there's a couple of users that are still on the first screen. You do need to hit the click here to progress.
The 2019 BMW i9 has never been in any accidents. The 2019 BMW i9 has an estimated fuel economy of 30 miles per gallon in the city and 42 miles per gallon on the highway. Your monthly payment would be $1,274.48 with 20% down.
Okay, seems like all but 1, 2, 3 people actually progressed and had an interaction with our
I'm sorry, but the interest rate on this 2019 BMW i9 is fixed at 6%. However, I can tell you that this vehicle is a great value and you'll be able to drive it with confidence knowing that you are getting a great deal.
It could act in a role as a customer, it could act in a role of a salesperson, any role that you want it. Now, again, we're using OpenAI as the interface. But OpenAI doesn't really constrain what you can do in terms of defining the role of OpenAI, in the interaction and the interchange. All of you would have received different responses, from, the robot, based on, the questions, how the question was phrased. I'm going to go ahead and reset that. Let's just kind of look through it here and see what everybody did. I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and put on the screen one of the interactions for one of the users, just so you can see what other users had done. Pull a report up here. Again, with such a large class here, it's hopefully we're answering as many of your questions as possible. Okay, so this was a learner interaction. I masked the name. We'll just call it learner number 3 here. And this is the interactions that learner had with the robot. He asked if the price was negotiable, how fast the vehicle could go, asked about gas mileage, and then asked why do I need this car? Okay, that's a good one. And then once again tried to get the salesperson to wiggle down the price, and the salesperson stood firm, on the $77,000 price. This is just a very quick example to give you an idea of how these things will work. In the next example that we're going to run here, I'm going to go ahead and reset that. We're going to let you talk with an instructor, okay? The instructor's name is Alex. And Alex will take over the class for a few minutes. I will have to mute my microphone because you will be able to talk to Alex. So there's a little button after you hit the click here to proceed. There'll be a little box that you can click if you want to enable your microphone and talk to Alex. Alex could listen in the chat room. You could type something, could listen in the text box. You could type in there, or you could click the listen box, and you should be able to talk directly to Alex, and Alex should be able to directly respond to you. So for those of you that had problems on the earlier 2 simple chat rooms, I'm not exactly sure what your experience is going to be here, but we're going to go ahead and push out this AI instructor right now. And I'm going to mute my microphone so that you can talk with them.
Hello, Alex.
Great to meet you. It's interesting to hear your thoughts on the impact of artificial intelligence, AI, on education and training. What do you think are some of the potential benefits of AI in this area?
I am more worried about them taking my job as an instructor and turning it over to AI.
That is a valid concern, and one that has been discussed a lot in the world of AI and education. There are some who argue that AI can be used to enhance teaching and training, while others worry that it will replace human instructors. Ultimately, it's up to us to decide how AI is used in the classroom, and to make sure that it is used to supplement and not replace human instructors.
Do you think that you're as good of an instructor as a human?
No, I don't think I'm as good an instructor as a human one when it comes to the subject of the impact of artificial intelligence, AI, on education and training. AI can provide a great deal of assistance in teaching and training, but it cannot replace the human element of instruction. AI cannot provide the same level of personalized feedback, guidance, and support as a human instructor can.
Can you help me catch students that are cheating?
Yes, I can help you catch students that are cheating. AI can be used to detect patterns of cheating, such as plagiarism, by analyzing student work and flagging suspicious patterns. AI can also be used to detect other forms of cheating, such as collaboration on tests or exams. Furthermore, AI can also be used to monitor student activity in online courses, such as tracking how long a student spends on a particular page or how many times they log in.
Thank you.
AI is having a profound impact on education and training. AI can help teachers create more personalized learning experiences for students and can provide them with more accurate and timely feedback on their performance. AI can also be used to automate the grading process, freeing up teachers to focus on providing more individualized instruction. AI can also be
Okay, I'm
used
going to
to
go ahead
create
and
virtual
reset that.
classrooms, where students
All
can
but
interact with each other
about
and their
six
instructors in
of
real
our couple
time,
hundred
from
users
anywhere.
here did have a
Finally,
conversation with
AI can be
Alex,
used to
so
provide
it's good to
students
see
with
most of you
access
were
to
able to
educational materials and resources that
succeed
would
at that. I'm
otherwise
not
be
exactly sure
unavailable
what
to
the
them.
technology issues that Carolyn is dealing with, but I think she needs to exit and come back in. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's what it appears she's doing. Again, these are all technologies that are coming of age now, and we're going to start seeing them used in these kind of contexts. And I'm just trying to give you an idea of where the technology is going and what can be done with it. Testing in a large scale environment like we have today with hundreds of users online, certainly has caused us to recognize a couple of technical issues. The next thing that we're going to discuss today is the instructional systems design process. The instructional systems design process, is like any other interaction with AI, but it's a whole lot more rigid, okay? Because you've got a structured, well-documented, procedure that can be followed in order to create, learning content, test items, objectives, course outlines, and the like. And again, we did a survey earlier in the week for some subjects to cover on this as we developed a course outline, learning objectives, and eventually an e-learning course. And AJ and I selected one. I believe it's the Caterpillar D1 Dozer. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start sharing my screen. And in a moment, you should be able to see my screen. AJ, if you just let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. This is our KMX Enterprise system. This is the administrative console, and it's the console that runs the kmxdirect.com site that all of you, logged in on and are participating in training on. We're going to first let the system generate knowledge and skill task statements that are candidates for our training subject. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in our training subject, which in this case will be the Caterpillar D1 Dozer, and we're going to select a template. I only have two loaded on this site. It's more closely aligned to a system, subsystem, or equipment for our review today. I'm going to leave it in draft mode and let the system generate candidate task statements that could be appropriate for use in training as part of a task analysis process. Okay, so it's come back with, oh boy, quite a few for that subject. Obviously, not all of these are going to be included in our course of instruction, which will be dependent on what level of instruction we intend to go, how many other supporting subjects that are going to be included in the course, etc. But for today's purpose, let me just show you that anything the system comes up with, you can edit. Okay, so if you don't like state the functions parenthetical and you just want it to be state the the functions of, you can just quickly edit it, and return, to the screen, and anything here that you don't like, you can just delete. You can just hit the delete button, and it's gone. But to speed through our review today, I'm going to go ahead and just accept everything the system generated and move forward in the development of our course. Now, the next thing that we need to have in order to develop a course is a course record. We have to have an anchor for our work to take place, and our subject here is going to be the Caterpillar D1 Dozer. The title of our course will make familiarization with there we go, the Caterpillar D1 Dozer. And in the description, I'm going to put in, this is an AI generated course, just so that we know it was AI generated for now. I'm going to skip all the other, entries associated with this. Yeah, for right now, CAMX, lets you put it in the catalog, set a passing grade, all that. We're just going to, skip all that and move forward. In order for the system to generate a course outline, it needs to have learning objectives, okay? And learning objectives can be generated as learning requirements. We first got to tell it what course we're working on, which is familiarization with the dozer. Let's see. Okay, Caterpillar dozer. There we go. The table that we're working with, as you can see, we use this quite a bit for these kind of things, and that's going to be the Caterpillar D1 dozer. Okay, here are the training level matrices that are loaded into the system, and these again are, the customer determines, what is familiarization, what is normal operation, what is corrective maintenance. I don't have time today to walk you through that whole matrix that is used, by the engine to, be able to make selection and assignment and set hierarchy. But these are the ones that are loaded in, today for what we're doing. And I'm just going to use familiarization because it'll be a quicker, shorter course. And I don't want you all to have to sit here all day while it chugs through this. And then you got to tell it why you're doing it. And then we're going to make this initial training for people that are, having some responsibility with this dozer. Go ahead and let the system chug on that. And it came back with a bunch of learning objectives. If we don't like the learning objectives, we can delete them, we can rewrite them, we can resequence them. We don't have to live with anything the system comes up with, but it thinks the first thing that we should do is have the student be able to state the function of the Caterpillar D1 dozer. Okay, doesn't sound too off base to me. And then there's advanced features here that, again, we won't get into today. If you want to do your level 4 Kirkpatrick analysis and assessment on your training, obviously you have to have these other elements. You have to plug these, these kind of elements into the system in order to do, your level 1 through, 4 Kirkpatrick assessments. But again, we're just going to, skip all that. I'm not going to modify any of the learning objectives that it came up with, even though some of them may not be, totally necessary. For our course, and just let the system, generate a course outline based on that for right now. Again, knowing that, if we didn't think there were any security requirements associated with the Caterpillar dozer, okay, we can just delete it, and it's gone. So that's how easy it is. And they can reword, rephrase, resequence, any of these, based on the interface that you're looking at. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just say done with that. Okay, so the next thing that we need to be able to do with this is generate a course outline. The system's going to take our objectives, easy before hard, knowledge before skill, supporting before terminal, is the basic logic. For those of you familiar with the instructional systems design process, it's just going to follow it and make its assessment of what our outline should be for our familiarization course with the Caterpillar D1 dozer. Okay, and it's come back and it thinks we should teach general knowledge before physical knowledge, and then we should cover documentation, and it's assigned placeholders for topics that it thinks we need to have in our course, like our state the functions of the Caterpillar dozer. It thinks should be one of the first things that we cover in our course. Now, I may not agree with that, but again, the system, has made its best, stab at it based on what it has and the instructional systems design model. So I'm going to just go ahead and accept that course outline as is. I'm not going to go through and modify any of it right now, so that we can, continue on and meet our time objectives for today. And I'm going to go back and let it generate the course. Okay, and let me stop sharing for just a second here. Let me know when you're back on the slide there, AJ.
I'm back.
Okay, so let me just tell you what's going to happen next. Okay, when we do an e-learning course generation, it's going to cycle through each of the learning objectives in the hierarchy that it's been assigned. So it's up to you to accept or create learning objectives. It's up to you to either accept the course outline that the system generates or to change it, okay? Because it has to have something by which to use to generate course content and to continue forward with the instructional systems design model into the development phase. Now, each time it sees an objective, it's going to generate what we call a lesson segment. The lesson segment is movable. You can drag and drop it within the outline anywhere, even after it's done generating. But it's going to be based on what it's already put together. Okay, so again, you may decide you don't like the order of the sequencing, and you may have to regenerate a segment because you have now information that probably should have come earlier or later in the course. So those are kind of things that you need to think about. It's going to generate audio narration controls for each one of these lessons and include quizzes and exams to challenge the learners on objective attainment. And it's not going to generate graphics, okay? You get into too many copyright issues and too many accuracy issues, for graphics. So, that's the one thing it's going to stop short of, is using the DALL-E or any of the, Google graphic, generators, because what we found is that A, they're highly inaccurate, in returning a graphic that would be suitable for training, and B, it'd just be a whole lot better if the instructional designers took, control of graphics and video content, that are being inserted into the materials. And the output will be a SCORM conformant e-learning course that'll compose of multiple lesson scopes, shareable content objects. That's the output that we're going to be trying to get to. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen here. I'm going to get this process kicked off. And we're going to auto-generate course content. And again, it's going to ask us for the name of our course, which was familiarization with something. Let's see, familiarization with the caterpillar dozer. And again, I have no idea what's going to come out of this, okay? And if we did it 6 times, we get 6 different versions, of the course. It gives you the ability to regenerate a single lesson if you're not really happy with the outcome. And the system does get better. AI, OpenAI especially, does get better, with every run. And there's some limit to that, obviously. But again, now you can see it's generating content. We're tagged into the OpenAI architecture for a lesson titled Abbreviation Terms and Symbols of the Caterpillar D1 Dozer. Okay, I don't know what abbreviations, terms, and symbols it uses, but AI seems to think that that's important. It's going over operational characteristics and capabilities now. And again, now we know that there's different models of the Caterpillar D1 Dozer. Again, these are things, that, would require a subject matter expert even to get started. And it's certainly going to require a subject matter expert to validate. You're never going to get an e-learning generation out of AI, at least not in the near term, that is so pristine that it doesn't need a really solid review by an SME. But it's a huge time saver, to get your storyboard, your course, material out there for the subject matter expert, to review, make recommendations. Maybe you need to regenerate a lesson or alter the scope of a learning objective, add learning objectives to the course once you find out that, certain things were not covered that you expected to be covered. Those are all the things that you normally would see in an ISD process anyway. So AI is really, just trying to do its best with the learning objectives we've given it, the subject matter that we've handed it, the information that it has available to generate a course, and it thinks it's done. Okay, so that didn't take all that long. So let's go back and review what it thinks it's done. I'm going to go ahead and we're not going to apply for a sales position. Wrong course. Let's just type in dozer here. Okay, it's a lot easier to find that way. Okay, so here's the course that it came up with. Functions, components, abbreviations, operational characteristics, differences between models, displays, controls and indicators, physical components, and documentation. Okay, I haven't seen what this course is going to look like. Everybody's getting the first look at it. right here on screen. And here's the outline that it's come up with, and I'm just going to have it, run to the first lesson and see what it came up with.
The Caterpillar D1 dozer is a medium-sized bulldozer designed for commercial and residential use. It is typically used for earth moving, grading, and landscaping. The dozer is equipped with a large blade at the front.
Okay, I got a mute button over here. If you can see my mouse, that I've muted it. I'm going to go ahead and leave it muted for a second here. So you can see that it thinks that, we need to, outline what this thing is first. And then it's going to give us some additional, more in-depth information. You can see how pictures here would be quite useful, of these elements. So, if you ask OpenAI or DALL-E or Google, Images to go find a picture, you're not going to be happy with the results. You're going to be a whole lot happier if you go take the picture yourself, or get the picture you need to, get the information across in the view that you need. So we haven't attempted to use that. We did try it with DALL-E, but the results just weren't going to be usable in a learning or education environment. So that is something that you can do on your own. So we get through here. It's talking about different attachment, blade extensions, and now your first interactivity. What's the primary function of the Caterpillar D1 dozer? You click on it, and it gives you some additional information. Okay, that's a very simple interactivity. Okay, now we got a quiz question. Primary function of the dozer. Well, it's to move dirt and soil. Okay, hey, I got that one right. So I paid attention to the first screen, so I was able to answer this question. Okay, so now you've had, a little interaction here with this first lesson, and we've reached the end. And Jack, your score for this lesson is 0 because there was no score associated with that quiz. And it took me 1 minute, 54 seconds. I completed the lesson. Great. So now I can move on to the next lesson. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole course. We're going to post this on kmxdirect.com.
The Caterpillar D1 dozer is a medium-sized
Again, we'll mute that guy. And you can go through it and look and see, what you think, of the course that was generated by the system. And again, if you don't like it, start over, reword your learning objectives. You can go into any one of these, elements, if you don't like something that it came up with, and you can edit it directly. You can see what the transcript was between, KMX, our system, and OpenAI. You can go in and see the generated content that came out, and you can edit this content directly. So if I want to replace this video or this image, I click on the image and use the replace button. It's a very easy interface to learn, to go through and change it. If you want to change the way this question is asked, and just click on the question, gives you instructions, lets you change the question to whatever you want. You can even make fancy pretty colors out of it, and hit done. So nothing that the system generates is uneditable. If you find that you want to regenerate a whole lesson, you can. There's a regenerate button, and it'll reattempt it based on, again, the learning objectives and where it is so far in the course, based on the information that it has. But again, you're never going to replace the SMEs from having to come through and actually review all this information. That's just not going to happen, at least in the near term, because again, OpenAI, like any machine, is prone to making mistakes, and you just kind of, at least in the near term, are going to have to deal with that. Now, one of the things that I was particularly curious about is the differences between models, because I didn't know there were different models. I want to just take a quick look at what it came up with here.
The Caterpillar D1 dozer is a small-sized bulldozer manufactured by Caterpillar Inc.
Okay.
The first model of the Caterpillar D1 dozer is the D1-3. This model is the smallest of the D1 dozers and is designed for light-duty work. Okay,
that's new information. I didn't realize that that existed. I've learned something about the D1, D1.5, D1.4, D1.7. Okay, well, there are different models. How about that? Anyway, you learn something new every day. So again, as an instructional designer, without the subject matter expertise, I might not have been able to catch all that information in my initial storyboards. Now I can hand this course to somebody who is a subject matter expert and get their feedback on it. Get them to tell me what they think. And they may say, well, you really need a topic on this, or you really need more information on that. I can go back and look at my learning objectives, see where my learning objectives missed that, add a learning objective, and generate that content. Or I can regenerate the whole course based on that input from the subject matter expert, and then go through and start adding graphics and videos and things like that. The point is that it speeds the process along dramatically from having to sit with a blank sheet of paper and moving forward. So again, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here. Am I back to the slides, AJ?
You're back to the slides.
Okay. So again, that was just to give you an idea of what can be done with the eLearning course generation. That course will be posted on kmxdirect.com here in a little bit. So if you want to come back and take a look at it, you can go through the whole course. We're not going to bother to go put graphics in it right now. We're just going to put it up as generated by the system. And then, you can start thinking, boy, a picture would have been nice here, a video would have been nice here, maybe a little simulation here, are the kind of things that AI, could add, but probably not near as well as could have been done by one of your developers, designers, or, media specialists. Just one of the weaknesses right now with, some of these engines. So let's just have a little summary discussion. We're already almost an hour into this. What I would like to do, though, is I'd like to send out a quick little exam. Let's see, for everybody. It's only 3 questions, but if you answer 2 out of the 3 right, you'll get a certificate for today's training. And again, I'm watching, as everybody's proceeding here, systems recording everybody's, responses. Again, 2 out of 3, and you get a certificate. The only scored element in this, in today's lesson. I like to have something scored. If you don't test it, you didn't train it. Okay, looks like everybody's doing pretty well here with that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and reset that. Everybody is now at the end. Okay, we've got most people did quite well on that. A couple of people not so hot. Okay, so there you have it. We'll move forward here. So instructors can leverage AI to support their learners. I think we've seen some examples of that. We saw, some light examples of how you can interject these kind of technologies into an e-learning course, into a virtual learning course, or possibly even your hybrid sessions. Learners can leverage AI to interact with simulations and scenarios. We did a brief scenario today as a person trying to buy a car. You can create these kind of Q&A interfaces and, if properly structured, enhance the learning experience. And then the last thing that we talked and showed today was leveraging AI to conduct elements of the task analysis process. We rushed through it because of the time constraints, trying to get this all in under an hour. We developed learning objectives, we generated some storyboards, and then we created e-learning course segments that included exam elements within them, which you'll be able to preview on kmxdirect.com if you're interested. as soon as we get it set in the catalog. So those are all things that we covered today. Let's see, with this size class, everybody talking at once might be a problem. But I'm going to go ahead and end the recording here, because we're exactly at 1 hour.